Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 12th, 13th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, today we have the moon in Aquarius and kind of trying to bring a little lighter energy, but we're in retrograde week here. Yesterday, Saturn turned retrograde. Tomorrow, Venus turns retrograde. Thursday, Jupiter turns retrograde. On top of that, we've got Mars moving into Pisces tomorrow. So Pisces is a mutable sign, just like Gemini. We've also got Mercury now in Gemini. So we've got Mercury in Venus in Gemini. We've got Neptune and Mars coming up in Pisces. Very, very mutable. Now, the mutable signs happen at the change of seasons. And it's kind of like this, it's like one season one day, one season the next day. And the changing winds with all this Gemini energy and Venus taking a retrograde. So with all this mutable energy for the next 2 months, because we've got Venus taking this retrograde in Gemini, Mars will be in Pisces for the next couple of months. It's really about rearranging our thinking, rearranging our life. And this is exactly the strange time we're in right now. And so because Saturn and Jupiter are turning retrograde this week right around Venus, we're going to really feel this. And it's like, because the bigger planets, the slower moving planets, you feel them most as they turn. So like around 3 days. So we've got like a 3-day overlap with Saturn yesterday, and then Jupiter Thursday, and then right in the middle, we've got Venus. Now Venus, a personal planets, you feel them pretty much in retrograde the whole time. Venus retrograde brings up feelings of, what do I want? What do I care about? What do I want in relationship? Reevaluating relationship energies, especially in Gemini, mutable sign, and our perception and conception around relationships and our values, our self-worth, and who we think we are, what we want in life. And this definitely fits the time that we're in right now, in this crazy, strange, uncertain time. And the message for you, souls, is again, just to not forget the bigger picture of what's happening. And everywhere you look now in the world, like it's kind of like you can't make sense of anything, and there's no solidity in the ground of our reality right now. And that is because we have already, okay, so the message is kind of like, we're in this big shift, you're in this big shift, you're here for this big shift, and we've already crossed a certain threshold that it's like there's nothing that can stop it. But the energies of the world, the resistance, maybe it brings forward a metaphor that someone was talking to me about around when you're getting ready to take off, and the most resistance you're going to find is when you're speeding up and getting ready to take off, right? And that's kind of where we are right now. The forces that don't want change, the forces that have been holding down our reality in 3D it's like pulling back our evolution. They're in full throttle right now, except for that it's dismantling. You can feel it's dismantling. And so it's really important for you souls who can get a grip. This is like, what we talked about, that what's made life so hard about you and what's been wrong about you is actually what's right about you. And so you have an ability now to step outside of the fray and know there's a bigger spiritual picture going on, and set your vibration there. And it's ironic that if you pay attention to what's going on in the world right now, you're going to get depressed. It's like, oh my gosh, like we are going to hell in a handbasket, right? But we know that's not really what's true. And energetically, it's way easier to access those higher frequency vibrations, right? So it's almost like this retrograde season, retrograde June, May and June, and this Gemini, Pisces, Neptune, just so confused. the Gemini square Neptune. So because Venus is turning retrograde tomorrow, that will put it right back, and it's going to just go right back into that exact square with Neptune. It's exact from the 20th to the 22nd, but we're feeling it all month long. And as soon as it turns, we're going to feel that really strongly. And it's just like total confusion. And it's just like, I don't know. It feels like with this Venus retrograde turning this week, don't even try to make sense of what's going on. Like, you are just going to find yourself in a pit of mud. With Mars moving into Pisces, it's like a pit of mud. And the more you try to get out of it, the deeper you're going to go into the pit of mud. And so I guess the message for these souls is like, you got to keep on the periphery, right? You got to go to that place outside of the play of events where you came from, where that's why you're here. Put your energy there. Put that pin down outside of the psychological mind. Because if you get anywhere near the psychological mind and try to figure life out from that place right now, as Venus is turning retrograde back into square with Neptune, Mars moving over into Pisces. Mars is like not entirely comfortable in Pisces, like, because Pisces is the two fishes. It's kind of like the twins of Gemini in a way, is that like there's this way, there's this way, there's the dream, the delusion. And Mars is like really likes a straight line. Mars just wants to go and put one foot in front of the other and create action. And with Pisces, it's like you're going in circles and you're stirring up the mud, which might be a good thing. We got to get clean. The messages are definitely like this whole retrograde season is about getting clean. It's about getting a better perspective of truth. And right now, what we're being shown in the world is like, we're just going back to the dark ages, right? Like, we're just getting sucked back into, and it's almost like worse because there's this futuristic technology that we're not told about that's being used to put us into the dark ages. That's kind of how it feels right now. Except for that, we know that's not really true. We know this is a time when it's like we are on the verge of, there's so much changing energetically. And we're on the verge of such changes we can't even comprehend. And just this last week, it's so interesting. Just keep this in mind. This is kind of the Venus square Neptune, of this juxtaposition of what we're being shown, of like being pulled into a vortex of de-evolving, like humanity's de-evolving. And it has a lot to do with technological control, which is weird because it's like the future of the Aquarius energy is being used against us to keep us in the Piscean age, But just this last week, I had 2 different people send me information on new technologies that are being developed for health and for energy. And just like, wow, our world is going to change so fast. Like, as soon as, these things have been so held back from us. And it's like, it's going to be this. So we've got to keep our energy there on what has already happened on an energetic level that can't be stopped. And that this retrograde is about humanity trying to adjust to these changes and wake up to, the possibilities of, this control, just to like try to get ourselves out, be Houdini. This Venus retrograde is like, okay, how are you going to be Houdini in your life? How are you going to get yourself out of those old traps and patterns that have to do with so these traps and patterns that have been holding you back for lifetimes have presented themselves in relationships. And yet they're the key to getting you out of patterns that have been keeping you stuck for a long time. So we always have this thing of like, okay, why am I playing this out again? I can't believe I thought I got this. Why am I playing out this pattern again? And this is part of the deliberate energies of the control energies. It's like taking a chakra that's supposed to spin, in a certain ratio and like making it spin the wrong direction kind of thing. That's what our world's been doing. When I go to do healings, working with the soul groups and individual sessions on DNA, the message is always like, okay, the DNA has a natural form, these natural codes of you as advanced souls that come in with them. And you can't get rid of those codes. You can't corrupt those codes, but you can cover them up, hide them, restrict them. A lot of times the DNA programming looks like it's like just restricting, like tied up, if you can relate to that feeling in life, and maybe a straight jacket. And that is trying to serve the purpose. Control energies of attack the DNA to keep it going, just to keep it from spinning, basically. Right. So we all have like our own resonant spin pattern that's in our DNA. It's in our electromagnetic field when we're in a healthy, connected state. And that keeps us going forward in our evolution, right? And it's like this story's gone on for so long of holding back this evolution, and it just can't continue. We can't continue. And yet, what we're being shown is what kind of like this dark nightmare of what would happen if it did continue. And maybe people are deciding if they want that timeline or not right now, you know? Maybe there's, it's like this, we're definitely in this timeline where in 1 minute you can feel like, oh, broke through to these higher dimensional frequencies, and a lot of what's happening for people right now is like finding access to lighter energies, you know, in a way that they couldn't for years. And then a very strange experience about time being doing very strange things. This is all symptoms of moving into higher dimensional frequencies. In 5D reality, we have a completely different relationship to time. 3D, we cut it up and we put it like in a line and cut it up into pieces, but that's not exactly, that's not how time actually is. And there's something about the bigger picture of what's happening now, that people have been forced into this place of the now moment, and to not be able to plan their lives, and to have to take a break, and to come into this more expansive experience of life, and like recognizing that that's all we have, like that momentary experience. So maybe that's one of the benefits of all the mutable energy and Mars and Pisces. It's just going to be strange. It's just going to be really weird, because that maybe part of what we're feeling is that Saturn turning retrograde, because Saturn rules time. It's in Aquarius. It's dabbling its feet into this new paradigm, being like, okay, I got to go get Jupiter, basically, because they both turn retrograde. And then September, just within a week or so of each other, they turn direct. Then together, Saturn and Jupiter move over into the sign of Aquarius in December. And that's like, okay, we made it through 2020, right? Like 2020 is just going to be weird and strange, and tumultuous change. And yet these energies that want to tell us it's all the same, you know? It's very, very, very strange time. And so we're kind of dipping into the strangeness in an intense degree this week, as we feel Venus turn retrograde, Mars move into Pisces. But there is that energy of the beautiful thing about the mutable energy is it's like it can adjust, it can change faster than you think. And all of a sudden, it's like, bam, landing home the divine timeline, landing home possibilities, opportunities. And it's like these souls have got to you guys have to keep your eye on that prize and your energy in that place of the exciting times that lay ahead, and how fortunate we are to be here on the cutting edge of this change and be there, right? And that's, we're coming back to all that stuff. Maybe this Pisces energy coming up, it's like, you got to leave some people behind. You got to let them choose the other timeline if they want to, because it's free will universe. And maybe this is our timeline war, why it's taking so long, because we're trying to bring as many souls as possible. And those timelines have to be right next to each other, on top of each other, in order to make that leap. And, but it's like, you have got to do what you're here to do, because now is the time, and you don't even know what that is, but you do know that you cannot stay down in the mire, in the soup, in the mud pit, and your energy is for something else. So this all comes down to, again, we're still feeling today the sun in sextile to Neptune, the sun in Taurus. And so having these energies of, do you deserve it? A huge, huge energy that's keeping these souls from taking that step. And if you this Pisces energy is like, oh, there's all this unresolved stuff from the past that wants to pull you back into the mud, and it's like, you don't deserve to go forward. How can you leave all of us behind, um, so it's almost like a daily moment to moment situation where you try to give yourself permission to move over into that new energies, and then the old stuff from the past comes up and pulls you back in. And we are going to be asked to hugely, with this Venus retrograde and Mars in Pisces at the same time, to reevaluate those loyalty contracts. And these souls, if you came in, if you were one of these souls, this big advanced soul, and so much compassion in your heart, so much love, then it's easy to hold on to the pain of groups of people, your ancestry, your family, and they don't want to do the work that can get them out of the pain, but they sure would like you to stay around and be the garbage collector. And this is where we have to go, ooh, and so it takes a very strong will force within these souls right now to say, I'm not here for that. I was here for that in Pisces age, right? I played out that story. Now I'm here for something else. And give yourself permission and show the universe that you're willing to hold sacred the spiritual energy that you have accumulated and worked for over lifetimes and evolutions. It's wanting to land home in your life. But if you're feeling like, well, I'm just going to go, I need to, it's like, how can I be in that energy? How is it fair for me when these people are suffering? And it's just easier to deal with this spiritual guilt. This is what's coming up right now. Spiritual guilt, which it's misplaced. It's wrong. Because if we're in a free will universe, everybody needs to decide for themselves. And the more you're trying to do it for them, the more you're keeping them from being able to do it themselves. It's psychic codependency, You might not even know you're doing it, but taking on the energies of the people around you because you're like, I can do this. I'm a big soul. I can do this. And this is good. And I can help, you know? And it's like, if you're here to lead the way, you help by going. And so, we're just at this threshold precipice place. And we've got to make that choice for ourselves, that we can do the most we can do here by embodying the bigger truth of who we are. That means feeling worthy of it. That means holding it sacred, protecting it, not leaking it out and taking on, cluttering it up with the garbage of souls that don't want to do their own work. You've done the work. That's why you're here right now listening to this. You have been in it to win it. And that's what's happening right now. And it's kind of like you're getting your wings and everybody else can be in the mud. Okay, that's fine. They can be there. They need to be there. That's their process. And it's time to fly. So good luck. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.